Hello, Rick here, continuing the Mass Effect lore series, this time looking into the covert paramilitary group run by humans for humans, Cerberus. The Human Systems Alliance is a relatively new addition to the greater galactic community, and its rapid advancement among the other species is often viewed with a mixture of admiration and great concern. Yet, still, it is human nature to continually push for advancement, and this is interpreted by the other races as an arrogant and impatient trait. Yet even among humans there are individuals who think that the great strides they've made are not enough, and that humanity is still owed a great deal more respect than it has. One of these organisations is Cerberus. Named after the three-headed mythological Greek dog, the name was chosen as a reflection of the perceived need for the Charon mass relay to have its own guardian. The realisation that the galaxy was a dangerous place came about in 2157 after humanity's encounter with the Turian species and the First Contact War. A major revelation for mankind, the Turians simply referred to this war as the Relay 314 incident. From this conflict, the Systems Alliance emerged as the governing body of Earth, and we entered into a new chapter. However, many, especially those who fought in the war, decided that while the Systems Alliance was busy trying to forge diplomatic ties, humanity needed to be prepared to curtail and control alien threats. One of these individuals was known as Jack Harper, who would go on to found Cerberus. After circulating a call to action in the form of his manifesto, he was termed by the media as the Illusive Man, a name he adopted. The organisation focused on being untraceable and hidden from the public perception in its early days because of the radical lengths it wished to go to procure the advancement of their human-centric goals. As humanity's place in the Citadel became more stable, Cerberus's goals began to incorporate the notions that humans should be in control, and only then could their safety be assured. This included acts of subterfuge, terrorism, blackmail, sabotage, as well as extensive scientific and military research. Such acts obviously branded the organisation as an illegal one, with efforts to capture its operatives increasing in priority over time. The reason for its persistence is twofold. First, it operates in a cell-like structure, where operatives are kept in the dark about other cell activities. Those within a cell answer to a single operative who has direct communication with the Illusive Man. This means that the only person who has purview of the entire structure is the Illusive Man himself. As of 2185, Cerberus consisted of 3 cells. Each cell could oversee several projects with varying goals, though at no time does the number of active projects exceed a dozen at a time. This is likely done to maintain the manageability of the organisation and prevent it growing too large. After all, the larger it is, the more people and resources involved, and the higher the risk of a security leak, exposing the clandestine organisation. One such cell was known as the Lazarus Cell, and oversaw a project of the same name, as well as construction of a stealth ship, the Normandy SR-2. This extremely resource-intensive operation was all to restore a human from a deceased state, and ultimately proved successful, though astronomically expensive and time-consuming. Other projects included the Enhanced Defensive Initiative, known as EDI, which was Cerberus's pioneer into artificial intelligence research, banned by the Citadel. EDI was first tested on Earth's own lunar base, where it went rogue under the guise of a simple VI. There was Project Eva, an android infiltrator advanced enough to pass among humans for a long time with minimal risk of exposure. The Firewalker project produced the M44 Hammerhead tank, which went on to be analysed by the Systems Alliance. Project Phoenix aimed to produce enhanced soldiers beyond the use of standard military genetic manipulation and incorporated new biotic techniques. Project Overlord was one of the more unethical experiments run by Cerberus and saw the merger of a virtual intelligence to David Archer, a savant of mathematics. The experiment went awry and led to the destruction of much of the facility on the planet IT. Then there was the project on Pragia, which produced the powerful biotic known as Subject Zero by experimenting on biotic children. The other quality that maintains its incognito status is its extensive list of supporters, powerful figures and hidden operatives who deliberately obscure its activities or provide intelligence to the organisation. The supporters range from politicians to military personnel who agree with the pro-human sentiments, and this resulted in an extensive information network, though it still pales in comparison to that of the Shadow Brokers. The insidious nature of Cerberus means that not all of these individuals are fully aware of the extreme lengths that Cerberus will go to. Certainly not the unethical experimentation and similarly abhorrent activities undertaken in secret. Though there are a few secretly staunch supporters, some may simply be drawn into the notion that the Systems Alliance is often bogged down in red tape, and Cerberus seems to get results. Others are in the throes of blackmail and forced to act as insiders for Cerberus, unable to turn and disengage with the organisation. Still others may simply not believe in the extensive list of activities conducted by Cerberus, thinking media and propaganda are blowing it out of proportion. Alongside this, Cerberus has numerous operatives that have diplomacy or military training and can actively contribute to their goals. It often recruits ex-military personnel through private security work to build its own paramilitary force, as well as training its own members. The organisation is always on the lookout for assets that can be recruited or utilised for the cause, from any background however, but it's selective on which it fully integrates. Cerberus cells often operate from numerous outpost stations throughout the galaxy, within and without Citadel space. Several installations exist as space stations, being harder to track, and many more are on remote worlds, often disguised as legitimate structures. All of these operations, extensive bases and personnel, all cost to maintain, which Cerberus does through the utilisation of numerous shell companies and active corporations that turn a profit, siphoning funds to the research and the missions of Cerberus. As with the structure of Cerberus, only the Illusive Man has a complete understanding of all its assets and holdings. It has several companies, including Cord Hislop Aerospace, a starship manufacturer created by Cerberus. CDR Holdings was bought out and is likely a major shares owner. The Terra Nova Commonwealth Bank, which was the prominent bank of the highest populated Alliance colony world. They obtained Harryborn Military Industries, which produced the popular M55 Argus, and they set up the Milky Way Foundation as simply a shell company. New Dawn Pharmaceuticals was purchased to conduct immoral experimentation on negating Asari biotics. There are strong suspicions that Binary Helix, a lead in the fields of genetics, and the Exogeny Corporation are also tied to Cerberus. Furthermore, Cerberus's agents are often trained to infiltrate unaware organisations to steer them towards Cerberus's own agenda, such as recruits in the Global Maritime Justice Organisation. Light Shadow Pictures, a film company, sold its video editing software to a Cerberus shell, providing them the ability to create photorealistic forgeries. The list is endless, but in 2185 it had at least 150 embedded operatives. Considering it only takes a couple of operatives to manipulate an organisation, this is more extensive than it sounds. Cerberus Skunk Works is its own in-house arms manufacturer and probably the only openly Cerberus infrastructure, and it has strong ties to Terra Firma, a human-first political party, often taking actions to place Terra Firma in a stronger diplomatic position. The questionable actions performed by Cerberus serve to illustrate another need for its cell structure, as it is likely that many of its personnel would defect if they knew the scope of some of the travesties revealed. In fact, by the year 2186, there were a lot of individuals who had indeed joined the Systems Alliance or gone solo, after Commander Shepard severed ties with the organisation and handed the Normandy SR-2 over to the Human Systems Alliance. Others included members of the Project Phoenix, as well as Jacob Taylor and Miranda Lawson. Ultimately, only one person had the clearance to see Cerberus for its entirety, and that person was the Illusive Man. He alone oversaw every aspect of the organisation, and moulded it to his vision of control. Despite his feigned concerns about the ethics of certain cells, his position and the flow of information makes it clear that he knew of every indecent, immoral action undertaken, but likely justified it with the arguments of the greater good, balancing his concerns with the small acts of good that Cerberus was able to eke out of its dark deeds. He was a suspected major financial backer of the Andromeda Initiative to chart an exodus to the Andromeda Galaxy after all, so without him there would have been no Andromeda. Are we sure that's a good thing? It is? Okay. It's a good thing. Thanks for watching this video on the Mass Effect universe's darker side of human progress. It was an inspired choice in Mass Effect 2 to allow the player within Cerberus, as it really does call their actions into question, and honestly, you could justify some of their actions from a renegade perspective. Cerberus really could have been a force for good, if the whole organisation didn't respond solely to the cynical will of one person, who fell right into the Reaper's plans. Thanks again. I've been Rick, and until next time, goodbye.